All right, we are so back for now. Hopefully, without any more pauses or regularly missed streams. I'm just going to take one little painkiller still as we start up here. I've had like quite a bit of dental work done over the last couple of weeks, which makes it difficult to like talk a lot because everything about my face hurts. So I've been taking it a little bit easy in recording videos. I luckily have like a month and a half worth of videos like in the buffer at any given time. But live streams, you can't really buffer those, so they've been a little bit inconsistent. For the time being, it should all be good to go now, as far as my teeth are concerned. But yeah, let me just... Why didn't I do that before starting the stream? I have no idea. Yeah, I've got another like appointment sometime in July to fix a couple of like small little things. But after that, I think my teeth should be pretty much back to being good. And then next year, I have like a checkup for all the work that we've done over the past couple of weeks on my face. But yeah, there's been a lot of hurting jaws and that kind of stuff, which makes it kind of annoying to talk a lot, because when you talk, your mouth moves, and when your mouth moves, stuff hurts. So we're gonna pick up where we left off, and that is we finally have the basic setup for everything that we need for our TwinStick shooter. We're going to need to make some different AIs, maybe. Definitely for the boss, we're going to make a different AI, because there's going to be a small little boss at the end of it. We might need to like design a couple of different types of bullets still. For the most part, all the bullets are going to be the same, but they will have like different speeds. One thing that I didn't do on stream, which you'll see in a moment, is that now the bullets also, when you shoot them, I guess I can just show you that in the animation level real quick. While I also open up DS4 window super quick, so that Unreal recognizes my stuff. I really need to like get on top of getting my controller maps, but it's annoying, and there's literally no good plugins for it that just like hook in to the enhanced input system. There's plugins that will offer you an alternative input system, but I don't want to do that because everything is hooked into the enhanced input system at this point. So I don't want to like switch away from that, because that would be a fucking nightmare to do. And some of them like are very like blueprint based, and I have some mappings in Blueprint, some mappings in C++, and it will be a mess to like redo all that now. So I'd really rather not. So I'll maybe have to like spend yet another like afternoon at some point getting the raw input working for everything. I did that at one point, and then I didn't work properly. But yeah, so as you can see, now it also, like when I move into a certain direction, I don't catch up with my bullets anymore, because when I fire bullets, you can see that the bullets that fire when I am stationary versus the ones that fire when I'm moving. The ones that fire when I'm moving actually go faster. So it's adding the velocity of the actual like character, or the poem, technically speaking, to the velocity, the starting velocity of the bullets. So that way, they like don't overlap with the player itself, and it's just a little bit more intuitive. Feels a little bit better that way. So I did that off stream earlier this week. So I just wanted to show you that. So now that we have all of that set up, let's go back into our actual game world. This is where we used to have this puzzle. This puzzle is going to go kaboom. We're going to get rid of this puzzle altogether, which is to say we can get rid of this trigger volume first and foremost, because, man, does this fucking suck. And then everything in here we also can get rid of, which is good, because this puzzle, despite being super simple and having a very simple solution, actually like accounts for about like 20%, maybe even 30% in some cases of people since I played time in the tutorial. It is wild how difficult of a time people had with this. So yeah, probably like not an amazing thing to keep in there. I just generally like the initial idea for the game was that every dungeon was going to have a certain type of puzzle, and then I like scope creep that up because that's what game developers do. To being like an entire like genre break, which is so much more work than making a puzzle, but it's also a lot more fun. And I've had an idea for the next genre, well, the next two, like little genre breaks that I'm going to do. I have a fair few already figured out. We're going to be doing twin-stick shooter, and I'm going to slap that in the tutorial because I don't think it really fits anywhere thematically in the rest of the world, but I did want to have a twin-stick shooter, so it's going to be relatively easy, relatively short as well here. And then for the red dungeon that we're going to be that we've been working on, so that's like that exists. Hold on a moment. Over there, it's going to be an on-rails shooter, which technically still is a shooter, which is quite close to a twin-stick shooter, but it's different enough, I think. Because of course it's entirely based on like being like a gigantic mine shaft merged with like a church kind of deal, right? So I can make it a minecart based thing, and I think that'll be a lot of fun. Then for the catacombs, which is the first dungeon that we made, and it's like a year old by now. It's kind of insane how long I've been working on this project. I'm probably going to go for a simple turn-based RPG. I'm going to get rid of all of this temporary meshes that I have here, by the way. Just because I want to do a turn-based RPG in one of them, and I don't know if thematically there's any other place that really like fits necessarily. I'm thinking probably like not really. So I'm thinking that's probably a good place to place the turn-based RPG, and that might be the next one I make because I want to make a turn-based RPG system to begin with because I want to make like a tutorial series on that because I think that would be a lot of fun. That said, though, the one that I'm going to be making for the tutorial is going to be different, most likely, from the one that we end up implementing into this game, because very likely the one in this game would implement the gameplay ability system. Because we have the gameplay ability system as a whole to begin with in this project, right? So we might as well use use it for that. But if I'm going to do a tutorial series on anything like that, let me set the proper level context real quick. Blockout tools, blockout box. There we go. Yeah, so if I'm going to do a tutorial series on a turn-based RPG, I would very likely kind of make a basic gameplay ability system from this, like from scratch, from the ground up, because I think that would be like the more educational thing to do. Like you probably learn quite a bit more from that than just using the like existing gameplay ability system. Also, the existing gameplay ability system requires C++ to like set up properly, and I don't want my tutorials to like largely be impossible to do in Blueprint. Some of them will be like C++ specific ones. I still haven't like looked into it as much as I should, but I still want to do like a video on like latent and asynchronous task nodes. Setting those up in C++ to use them in Blueprint because I frankly just need to figure that out for myself to begin with, because it's just a good thing to be able to do. I don't think it's like overly complex, but I just need to like look into it. But that's C++ specific stuff, right? But for the most part, I like to make tutorials that are applicable for Blueprint users as well as C++ users. Because everything that you make in Blueprint, you can just like translate to C++ fairly easily if you like know C++ fairly well. But the moment I start making something in C++ and a blueprint-only user like looks at it, they are just kind of screwed, right? Because it's probably going to be a bit of a pain to keep up if you don't understand like the syntax, or if there's stuff that I'm actually doing in C++ that's not possible to do in Blueprint, which again, there's not that much of that, but it's a possibility. So because of that, I want to, this is weirdly rotated gizmo, is it? Seems like it is. Because of all that, I do want to keep in mind that if I'm going to do a turn-based RPG tutorial series, it's probably going to be like fully blueprint friendly, which means that it's going to be a like custom made gameplay ability system, which is also fun. It's fun to like make your own from the ground up. But all that to say is, if I'm going to develop that, I will probably do that for the tutorial series first, then make the tutorial series, and then take that system and like strip it down for parts and implement most of that in C++ for my own project with the actual like Unreal provided gameplay ability system in place instead. And all that for just like 10 minutes of gameplay, effectively. Just to like break the pacing of the game up a little bit, which is kind of insane of me to do, and I'm kind of regretting that decision in some ways. But I also think that it's a good thing to like keep doing, so I'm not gonna like stop doing that in any way, shape, or form. So that's gonna be like the next 2 that I make after this. And then I also kind of want to do one of them because one of the areas is going to be like the forge, where like armor and weapons get made and stuff like that, right? So I was thinking maybe it's a fun idea to like make a factory style game, like Factorio or like Shapes.io, whatever, that kind of game, right? Where you just a very basic, more like a puzzle game with that as its theme than an actual factory game, where you have to like hook up the parts to like be merged together to be sorted into like the right outputs or something like that. Because I've actually kind of wanted to make a factory game for a while as well, because that's really addicting and really fun. And I don't really see myself making a full factory game anytime soon, because it's going to take a lot of time to actually make. And I have this game to make first, along with like a million other ideas, so I don't know. Anyway, we have a basic like block out here for our stuff. Now, the question becomes, what are we going to do here exactly? Because we have our like TwinStick player that I can just kind of drag in like this. I don't think I'm going to be able to rotate this, because it kind of fucks up if I rotate it. Oh no, that's another actor. We can rotate this to like here. So what I'm thinking is we can just kind of keep this one here. I already have it set up. I don't know if I did this on stream. I already have it set up to the point. Wherever it dies, it respawns, or well, it doesn't respawn, it just resets its own health, and then it goes back to where it started. It just keeps it like starting transform, and it just goes back to there. I initially had the idea to also respawn enemies when you die. Like keep a list of enemies, and when enemies die, don't actually kill them, but instead just deactivate them, and I reactivate them when the player dies. But there was a bit of an issue there with enemies that reactivate, and I could fix it, but in the end, I don't think I care enough for like a one-off little base breaker thing. It doesn't need to be so difficult. If you go in and you die and the enemies are already dead when you come back there. That makes it easier anyway, and if this is not entirely like your kind of genre, I think it's fine for that to be the case. But the issue that we ran into was that if an enemy was set to deactivate and then it reactivated, it never technically lost sight of the player. So it would immediately start moving toward the player while there was like a bunch of walls in between, because obviously it thinks it still has line of sight to the player, because that's how Unreal's perception system works. It doesn't like update every frame. It just like when you get the like impulse for, hey, now you can see something, or you don't see it anymore, that's when you update that stuff. The fairly easy solution to that is to just, when we activate an enemy, manually set the value for can't see player to be involved, and that should probably fix it. But this is one of those things where it's initially a bug, but then when you think about it, it kind of turns into a feature, right? And I know that's a bit of a meme in a lot of ways, but if I had not run into that bug, I don't think I would have thought about the fact that it might be a good thing to give a little bit more leeway for this. Because again, we're not making like a hardcore bullet hell TwinStick shooter here. We're just making a fun little bit of difference in gameplay so that the player doesn't get bored of mashing X. Or whatever controller, like A on an Xbox controller, I suppose. We don't need that to be like super hardcore and super difficult. Nothing about this game needs to be super hardcore and super difficult, to be honest with you. I'm not making a Souls-like. I've decided that. I made a video about that like a year ago. I'm not making a Souls-like. There's definitely like Souls-like inspiration. Like the experience system is just Dark Souls, because I like that bit of Dark Souls. I don't like most other bits of Dark Souls. I like the experience system of Dark Souls, but I don't know. Not everything with that experience system necessarily has to be like a full Souls-like, right? I also am going to, for the sake of my sanity, put at least temporarily, put a save point. I thought I had a save point in here, but I didn't, apparently. Well, in that case, we just go place actors, or we call it a checkpoint. We'll just place that there. There we go. A bunch of lighting needs to rebuild. I don't really care. A load game. I apparently wiped all my save games while I was setting up my like Bear Force stuff, because I deleted my save folder. That makes sense, yeah. It's been a while since I did that though. Okay, so why does it do that? There we go. Why is it all grey? Why is this white entirely? Does it not have the proper image? Does it just not have that image loaded in? There's a bunch of images that it just doesn't seem to like properly have loaded in, maybe? That's something that we're going to need to take a look into in a moment. Yeah, because these are just empty images now. I don't know... Oh yeah, we implemented that. I entirely forgot about that entire mechanic being a thing now. There might be a little bit too much leeway with that. We'll see. I accidentally triggered it there, so that might be... But it does still feel really good, doesn't it? And the post-processing effect for it is actually, like, really kind of nice. I'm, like, surprisingly still very happy with that post-processing effect. And I tried to trigger it there, and I didn't actually trigger it, so... I'm just thinking that maybe I have, like, too many, like, additive combat mechanics at this point. Because I also have the quick time. It does have that image. Weird. Because I also have, like, the quick kill quick time event. So maybe having both of those is a little much. Then again, that goes back to this. This is not a Dark Souls game. This is supposed to be like a hack and slash, almost like a power fantasy game in a way. If I have enough like visual effects for all that. I mean, there's a couple of issues here, obviously. Number one is that I'm not properly possessing this thing, apparently. Let me check that out real quick. What even is this? Oh, there's some level blueprint stuff here. We don't really need to like do any of this at all anymore. Like randomized plates, we don't need to do. We never needed to begin with. Assign event dispatchers to like being pressed, and then all this stuff. Actually, we can overlap. Yeah, I think like everything about this level for the time being we can just get rid of. To be honest with you. Okay, so there's a couple of small issues that we need to take care of to begin with. Number one is our bullet pool. We don't have a bullet pool in this, so that's not going to work properly. So I have to do a bullet pool manager. Might be good to have something like visualize this. Let's add a billboard just so that we can see it. And then we place it in some place where we can actually like get to it easily what we're working with is. So yeah, we have our bullet pool. Fantastic. We can now actually click on it. We can see it. Bullet size 500, and then we just make them BP bullets. That's fine. But that surely wasn't the issue with with possessing it, right? Why wouldn't it let me possess it? Because it does in the animation like test level. Huh. That's interesting. So what might be happening? I'm not sure, but when the game starts, I have a temporary reactor. Like that sphere that you see is the temporary reactor, I'm pretty sure. Somewhere over here, right? Somewhere. It's supposed to be somewhere over here. Is it this? No, I have no idea what this is. But we're just gonna leave it there. Yeah, so somewhere around here there is a actor. This one. that just rotates, and like this is what we initially like possess on begin play, right? Because we have this like panoramic view of the game like this, and then when we press either load game or new game, we possess the actual player character. And somehow when we try to switch possession, it makes us possess that initial thing instead of this, which is weird. Because we have interaction, we possess, player controller possesses this thing. Yeah, no, that adds up. That should not do what it is doing. Why is it doing that? Because it is a point class. Let me just try to print out what it's like trying to possess. Why does it do that? Because, oh, it's a view target issue. It's a view target issue. It doesn't actually possess that thing. It just sets the view target to it. That's not an issue because we can just set view target with blend. New view target will be this, and then when we unpossess, we also set view target back to the other thing. Need to like not forget that. So let's go back. We have the event unpossess. No, any damage, kill player, drone. Then we possess the player again. So if we do that, player controller also goes back to view target main player, which we have a reference to. That should set the view target as well. Yeah, so I think that's the issue, is because we're like specifically like setting view target stuff as well. Might be getting mixed up a little bit. There we go. It looks a little weird, but we'll manage. So yeah, we pretty much got this worked out now. So we can start actually building the level. Now we run into a small issue. I think what I need to do is I need to make something where this is on the other side of like a window. And set the interacting thing to possess the ship to be on this side of the window. To prevent the player itself from like entering this area to begin with. And the reason that that is relevant is because this is not going to have a ceiling, because we need to watch from like the top view. Either that is going to need like a ceiling that's at least like this high, which actually now I think about it might also like be just a reasonable thing to do. But I still want to prevent the player from like getting to this, right? So what we would need to do is we need to like add in a cube or something like that. Like, do we have a cube in here? This shouldn't be too difficult. Do we have a like default glass material? I'm sure we do. Might not work very well with like the whole post-processing thing that I have set up. Also, it just straight up just doesn't work, so let's use this other one, which just seems to be invisible. Oh no, okay, so that's very dark glass. Maybe also not ideal. Oh, because it's just black. Yeah, so that's not great. And that reminds me, the images for the tutorials. Well, we'll get back to that at some point in the future, I'm sure. Material stained glass. Did I make? That's not something I made, but that's kind of cool. Statue glass. What's this glass look like? I want it to be a bit more transparent, man. Can you make something that's like slightly more transparent? Holy shit. Would be nice if this material function had some parameters as inputs for me to use. It might just be the post-processing making this like a million times worse. Let's post-processing. Well, no, actually, because the cell shader is the thing that actually like, gives anything any meaning in life, apparently. Like that's the only reason that I can literally see anything at the moment, because it has a minimum light value. That's why. Oh, but that's probably why this isn't working properly, because it needs more light. So if I just like put some lights onto this, it literally does not make a difference, does it? No, and it does actually shine through, which makes sense because that's how glass works. I know that this is not what I was supposed to do right now. How do you select translucent material things again in Unreal? There is a thing for that. Let me try to Google that. Unreal select actor with translucent material. Hitting T. There we go. Somewhere in here we have materials, I think. 3D models. Materials, there we go. It can really be quite simple for this glass. So what we're going to do, I'm going to look at it on a cube, and this is obviously going to be translucent. The base color will set to be like a little blue, and then the opacity will just set to like 0.1, maybe 0.25, and then for the most part that might just be enough. I think it might be kind of cool to what does two-sided? Well, probably don't need two-sided for this. Oh, that's kind of neat. That's new, isn't it? Might not be. We can still hook things up to this, right? So roughness 0. Make it a bit reflective, maybe? Maybe not. Yeah, so these just don't work on this, that's right. And how do you make something that is, I guess, thin translucent, maybe? How would you make something that's both translucent and reflective? Maybe the answer is you don't. Translucent, no material roughness, specular available, yeah, so that's... Okay, so on translucently tab your material, there we go. So lighting mode, surface translucency volume. That will re-enable them. Okay, that's exactly what I needed. So, or what I wanted, rather. So let's set this back to 25% opacity, and now it is also reflective, which will probably help making this thing stand out a little bit more. Except that it really doesn't. Well, that's not ideal, is it? Maybe it's a little more opaque still. No, that just makes it darker. Oh, but for it to be reflective, it probably is going to need light. Hold the fuck on. Because everything we're seeing here is lit up due to post-processing at this point, right? So if I... Like this also like gives it its color. Okay, so it's not reflective like at all. But I think for now this will do. We could just put one like quick little light on it to have like something happening with it at least. Temporarily. I wish scaling this up would work. I understand why it doesn't. Because scaling can be done in like weird directions that wouldn't work on like a 2D surface that this thing needs. That doesn't mean I have to like it. Besides, it very much could just force you to only scale in those two ways if you really like wanted it or needed to. Yeah, that'll do. So the question is, can we interact with this thing just simply through that window now? Because that would be ideal. We cannot. That's fair. But that means that we're going to need to have another thing to interact with that's going to possess this thing for us, which kind of just means that what we have to do is just real quick make a blueprint for that. It's going to be super easy. Barely an inconvenience, you might say. BB ship possessor. Just going to give that a static mesh for a cube, and this is just going to have an interaction system implementation that's effectively going to do what this one does. It's just going to forward some stuff. So inherited interfaces, no. Implemented interfaces, there will be BP interaction interface. Apparently I didn't prefix that with BP at all. And we just take what's in here. And we put that in there. I might use the actual location from our ship. Or we might not, I don't know. But we're going to need a reference to it anyway, so might as well bp TwinStick layer. Expose that. For now, let's just put that thing in there. Carson Smith joins the YouTube chat. Welcome. What game are you making? So right now I'm working on a specific bit of my game. That is a, well, actually I'll show you once we have this actor finished. Because I can't actually access the character right now. Which is a twin-stick shooter, but the game as a whole is more of a hack and slash RPG. But this is just like a little bit of a side quest type of deal. Well, it's not a side quest necessarily, but it's just something else fun to throw in there. So yeah, when we interact with this thing, we just event graph, no interacts, we just kind of, or we can get rid of this actually. Just throw all that in there. Do you read chat? Yeah, I'm reading chat. Otherwise I couldn't respond to your question, so yeah. Very much reading it. So that should work now. So I can set that possessor in there. All right. That's perfect. So yeah, you can see here that we, okay, I do need to fix that little issue. Oh, that makes sense. That does make sense, doesn't it? How am I going to do that? I guess we don't need to do any of this. But do we have it is possessed or something? I guess we can just check self against get player pawn. And only if that is true do we move on. That is effectively just checking whether or not we're possessing this pawn, right? So, so yeah, the issue is that we are setting our stuff, our interaction widgets every frame, which is not great, even if we're not like possessing this thing actively. So, well, that's not important for right now. But yeah, so we go on and then we like play as this thing and trying to design the actual like level for it. But we do need to like set up all of the like player control stuff to make that work. And now that I'm like here anyway, we have this like an interaction widget or something on this, right? Interaction icon, yeah. So we just how do we? I guess we just set interactable actor to being false, maybe? Hold on. Let's move this somewhere else. I'm just in real time trying to figure out what we're going to be doing with it. I make Roblox games. That's also a nice way to like get into making games. Never really played with Roblox myself, but let's see if this works. But I've seen like a lot of people making like pretty awesome stuff within there. Yeah, so that's fine. That's fantastic. Okay, cool. That works. Okay, now we can start making our basic layout for our level, I would say, which are going to be fairly basic. It's just a quick little like base breaker for the game. So it's going to be a couple of rooms of enemies to mow down, and then you can just like move on and go do literally anything else. So let's start this off as just a closed off room. That's maybe like not too big. Like a little bit of a hallway. Just kind of making it up as I go. Unlike every like dungeon in the game itself, I have nothing like mapped out for this at all. So yeah, there's probably going to be a fair bit of fixing and going back in to change things, but we'll manage. Okay, yeah, cool. Probably want to hide this door behind something that only unlocks once you've actually like done this part of the game as well. But that's a issue for future me. So then you go like through here, and I guess we might need a little bit more space there. Applying the origins material. What the? Why are you doing stuff to materials? I never told you. What? Why? Don't do that, please. So I need to give my thanks. I'm an FX artist, learning Unreal, and your tutorials have been crazy helpful. I'm glad to hear it. Don't look at my Niagara tutorials if you're an FX artist, because those are probably like not actually that good, and I'm going to be real with you. They're good enough to learn the basics for people who've never done any FX stuff before, but I am not good at that stuff. I do want to cover it for people who are like just getting into it, and because of the very like bad lack of like Unreal effects like tutorials out there to begin with, to be like 100% honest with you. There's a decent amount of like material tutorials out there, luckily. And a lot of programming tutorials, mine included, but like there's not that much on like Niagara or even on Cascade, to be honest. So that's why they exist. But yeah, no, cool. Happy to hear that my stuff is helping people. before going on like an entire tangent about how I suck. TwinStick enemy. So yeah, these all should be at the same height. So let's all just set them at a height that's easy to like replicate. So let's do like 200. Strictly Houdini for TV and advertising. I mean, if you're familiar with Houdini, I'm sure that picking up Niagara wouldn't actually like be that that big a deal, because Houdini scares the ever-living hell out of me. That said, there's probably like plenty of people who would say that about After Effects as well, and I am very comfortable with Adobe After Effects. But it is a very scary looking software if you've never worked in it. Maybe Houdini is similar in that regard. I'm not saying it's similar in like the way it works to After Effects, because it's not, because it actually can like do particles, and After Effects built-in particles are fucking shit. They're actually ass. They're like so laughably so much that there's like entire companies whose existence is providing After Effects plugins that give you particles that don't suck. Or at least like Red Giant is kind of like built on that concept and then build off doing other stuff, which is all pretty cool as well. Yeah, I don't know why I'm rambling about After Effects. I'm not even using After Effects anymore. I don't use Adobe at all anymore. Well, Substance. I use Substance Paint. But that's honestly just because I don't really know of many very good like alternatives to Substance Painter. That are also like user-friendly and easy to use, I should say. Because I'm sure that there's plenty. And technically like everything you can do in Substance is doable in Blender. Just so many of the like smart filters and that kind of stuff. And the way that it works in like a very Photoshop-like manner, it's really, for somebody who's not an artist, it makes doing art assets actually like doable. Like this guy, for instance, right? He's not amazing, like by any means. It's not the best asset you'll ever see. Like without Substance, having like all of these edgeware things, specifically, and like the edgeware on this. If we go into here, you can see that Blender is a pretty poor representation of this, but he's got like layered materials for like rubber, and underneath it's like carbon fiber. Like all that stuff, without the like smart tools that you have in like Substance, that just wouldn't be a thing that I could do. It's definitely a steep learning curve, mainly just how you approach solutions. You've got to be a good programmer brain, so it might come naturally to you. That's kind of what I figured as well, from what I've seen from Houdini. But it's also like I don't know. You kind of think the same thing about Niagara in some ways, and that's just because it is simulations. It's really kind of annoying because you don't have like super fine grained control, and that's just kind of like where I give up, because I'm just like playing with sliders, hoping that it like cascades into an effect that I like, instead of like specifically programming the way that these things move, which you can do in like limited scenarios. I had a tutorial at some point somewhere about something that effectively just lets you like program the exact position of every particle in your system at any given time, which does mean I think it does necessarily need to run on the CPU because of that. But yeah, this one, right? Like you get this effect, which is like kind of like cool, And this one I actually like straight up think is really kind of awesome. This one is a bit shit. This one looks kind of cool. But this is kind of just programmed. Like there's not a lot of simulation in here. This is just programming saying, hey, over your lifetime, move away from the center, and on every frame, move around. Like those are just two pre-existing functions that exist within Niagara, and I use those. The way you're supposed to use it is based on like forces and that kind of stuff. Like apply this force and then apply this force, and there's like apply some randomness to these forces, and that's just where I kind of lose it because I'm not good at that. But maybe with Houdini, there's like a little bit like more easily exposed, so that I could like make things that actually like apply the forces specifically in the ways that I want, that Niagara seems a bit more limited with. That said, though, I also have never like looked into coding my own like Niagara modules, which you can do. I'm sure that if I did that, I might gain back some of that control that I feel like I don't have. But I also have like a billion things to do at any given time, so it's just one of those things that I'm like, I'll just largely use pre-made VFX and then add in some of my own where possible. Like everything we have here, right, in the game itself, if I just like go new game, like I have some VFX here that look pretty like decent because I didn't make them. These are just asset packs. Even like my sword swipes here, they're asset packs that I do have to like properly align to all the sword swings, which is a pain in the ass, I might add. Like it's not a lot of fun to do, but yeah. I didn't make those myself, and the moment I started not using my own VFX, I feel like the game instantly feels about it 100 times better. And there's certainly going to be like stuff that I make myself still, simpler stuff, stuff that just doesn't like easily exist on the marketplace, obviously. But we also have like the bullets for these guys, right? That's the button. There we go. And the impacts as well. Like, those are just marketplace assets as well. And I don't really, like, care because, like, they do what they need to do and they're fine. Right? And I kind of want to gather more examples of this and at some point make a video about this. Because there's this like thing that game developers, including me, like tend to do where they're like, oh, you use assets, that's bad. Like, dude, I'm one dude, okay? I'm one person. Yes, I'm going to be using assets because look at the fucking thing I'm making. Well, some of these I do plan on going back in and changing. Like maybe these bullets I'll go back in and change because they are like fairly generic. Those sword swings, for instance, I don't really plan on going back in and changing. Those are just like pretty good for what they are. That blinking effect, I don't know. I'll have to like decide later on. There's also just like a bunch of other effects that I already have that are, you know, they're good at what they do, and as long as they reasonably fit within the art style, which the post-processing does a lot of heavy lifting to make things fit within the art style, because everything just like gets cel shaded through post-processing, which helps a lot. Let's actually start with doing 3 in this area. So yeah, the idea that I had here is to just make this room not suck. Apparently that's beyond me. Well, it's a matter of picking your battles, right? Because I'm also not like a super good artist. Again, Exhibit A. Um, but I'm hell-bent on doing all of my own like character art, because I think you should do your own character art, or at least you should have unique character art. If you have an artist for that, obviously you use that artist. But if you're like doing something solo, like I am, I still think that doing your own character art is like super important, because, well, your characters is what gives your world and your game, for lack of a better term, character. So using pre-existing assets for that seems like just not a viable option, right? So all of my characters I do myself, and I also think that that gives like a certain style, because if you look at these characters, they're not like super high-end professionally made characters, but if you like look at this, I'll just go to game view, if you like look at this dude and like this guy, and like to a certain extent this guy, he's a little different. He's very different, but there's like two very specific like styles where I go like super in on the hard surface and super in on like the organic shapes. Like those are like specifically two different types of enemies within the game. But I do feel like you can kind of feel that this is made by the same person, and as such it has a certain sense of personality, even if it isn't like super high quality, which I will like readily admit. And hopefully that is good. Question going back to texturing. How do you find the materials hold up going from Substance to Unreal? I like to shade in Blender, but I find my materials never look similar when going to Unreal. Yeah, so they do look different. In my case, especially, because obviously I have this like post-processing like cell shading effect. If I just like set them side by side, a couple of things here, going into animation level. Like I have this dude that I have here, right? This is just Blender, like the flat textures. This is Blender with like its internal like preview material renderer, which is obviously in and of itself like fairly like limited in the way that it looks. But like, this is definitely not the way that's supposed to look. Like it's way too shiny and all that kind of stuff. If I just go into like render view and I like add a light. I always forget lights. There we are. Let's just do a sunlight. Like that's a little bit closer already. But of course it's still like a different renderer than Unreal. So it's gonna like look somewhat different, but like this is a little closer. But then when I move over into Unreal, like I have a cell shader effect. So this is what he actually looks like in engine, which is not ideal because he's got some like fuckery going on with the normals in his eyes that I need to fix. I'm not 1000% sure how I'm going to fix that yet, but this is what he looks like in engine, which is so ridiculously different that I like honestly like when doing my textures I just kind of hope for the best and I do a couple of round trips, import it into engine, seeing hey what do I like, what do I think might like need a little bit of touching up. In this case he actually ended up coming out fairly good. The like blotchiness in his textures in Substance Painter, I use the new like automatic like stylized brush filter thing that they added a little while ago, which is actually the reason that I started like, okay, I've been thinking about should I get a perpetual license through Steam. I've heard there's issues with that, or should I get the subscription? I decided to go with the subscription because like those kind of new features are just nice to get in. And that was one of those features where I'm like, yeah, that's kind of cool. But in Substance, I didn't really see it, but it really like becomes apparent with the like quantization that the cell shader does. So that's actually quite nice. On the other hand, his legs are very hairy, which the like cell shader's outlines kind of make a nightmare. So I need to go back in. I haven't done that for this guy yet. I need to go back in and decrease the strength of the normals for the leg hair, and maybe just the tiling as well. Make the texture just like bigger in general. And of course, whatever the hell is going on with the normals in his eyes needs to be fixed, because this needs to just be like a flat red color. But aside from that, I'm fairly happy with how he turned out. I was kind of afraid that the tentacles were going to be like overly detailed, and they kind of are, but in a way that I ended up liking. But yeah, my personal process, I'm not saying that this is necessarily like an amazing process, because it's just like what I do. But my personal process is just making it, putting it in engine, seeing, hey, what do I think might need like a little touching up, and just doing a couple of round trips. It's fairly easy to just re-export the textures anyway, and then in Unreal just go to the texture, right click, re-import, and bam, you got everything going, and you can like fairly quickly iterate that way. So that's like not a huge problem for me. But in the end, like whatever tool you're going to be making stuff in, like it's going to look different in engine. So I do think it's reasonable for most workflows to like rely on a couple of round trips to fine tune things. But again, I am by no means like actually an artist or anything. So there might be a better method that I just like I'm not aware of, or doesn't work as well for me, or whatever. So the real answer is I don't really know. But that's how I do it. Let's get these actors not on begin play. How do we do this easily? I guess what we do is we can just make array. Does it make a proper type array? Yes, it does. It's fantastic. We just for each loop assign on destroyed. And I guess we just, this is going to be pretty hard coded, by the way. This is not going to be very good programming. But we just increment this integer, and then we check, hey, is this now greater or than equal to? I guess we, to make this scalable, kind of, just get the length of this array. We could make this maybe into a macro. Or like a function or whatever. Well, no, you can't really easily include an entire like sub-event in a macro. Never mind. We'll just copy this over a couple of times. Again, there's going to be a couple of rooms at most anyway, so it's not that big a deal. If this is badly hard-coded. And then for now, all that we'll do is we'll just put in a cube. I just have a cube here that I'm going to steal. That will just get deleted. I am not entirely sure if I want to have the camera view be orthographic or perspective, because we have it on orthographic now. That's kind of neat. But maybe perspective is better. If we go to perspective, like, oh no, maybe it's not. Perspective is really kind of fucked. Yeah, perspective is really kind of fucked, isn't it? I don't know, man. Let's just see what that looks like in game, because I don't know that like perspective is a good idea. Well, in game it actually doesn't look that bad, and I would argue that it's less jarring to keep it in perspective mode, I think, compared to turning it to orthographic mode. Holy shit, okay, these guys do deal a lot of damage real quick. Probably turn down their rate of fire mode, but anyway, what we were doing is we were getting a reference to this. Why you're in a persistent world, okay. We can fix that. Hold on. No, you're not. We just destroy this actor. We also should probably turn off those health bars unless we're close by, I'm thinking. So yeah, we have that cube there. Let's not die. We died. We have infinite lives. It's fine. Just needs to like reset back to like its original position. But like when that other thing, like when that last one dies, which, oh no. When the first one dies, it goes from 0 to 1, then from 1 to 2, then from 2 to 3. The length of the array is 3, so that should have destroyed it, but it didn't. Why not? Oh, does it not destroy them? It might not destroy them, hold on. It might not destroy them when they die. Yeah, it just deactivates them. But we decided that we were not going to do that, so we will just destroy. I'm going to set the base movement speed for this guy to just be higher, because holy hell. This is very slow for testing. There's also 3 of these with like way too high of a fire rate. But yeah, that now allows me to like move through, so that's kind of cool. So that gate works. Okay, before anything else, this basic enemy like bullet type needs to change. Its rate of fire is every half a second. That is way too much. Let's like lower that to every second. And then its speed should be like fairly slow as well. I don't think we actually need a radius value anymore for these. So what I'm thinking is we do this as a bit of an introductory thing. We teach people like, hey, this is a twin stick shooter, so you shoot with your twin sticks, because that's the name of the genre. And then here we have a bit of a reward room, right? So we, what the hell? I don't care. So we have like a small bit of a hallway almost, I want to say. Did I just copy this properly? I did. Fantastic. And in this hallway we just have like a speed up, a damage up, and a fire rate up, like back to back to back. because we have those pickups, right? Yeah, so we have the like pickup speed increase. We have a pickup for well, probably start with the healing pickup actually. Damage pickup, and then rate of fire pickup. There's a pickup for every single one of them, just by one. And then from this point onward, I think after every room, we just give you the option to choose between like 2 or 3 of them. But this just kind of introduces the concept of all of them, which I guess if we're going to do that, we probably should not just make this a healing one. We should probably make this a like max HP increase, right? That seems fair. Should the max HP increase also just max out your HP? Is what I'm thinking now. Because I feel like maybe it should. Also, let's all line these up on the X. That's... oh, they're not lined up there, okay. I'm just taking my sweet time moving all these. No hurries. None at all. So I'm thinking if we're going to go like semi-roguelike with it, which we're not, because none of this is going to be randomly generated, all this is going to be designed. But I think that, oh wait, is that just a, oh, that's just a basic power-up that I put down. That's like not at all what I wanted to do. Pick up max HP increase, that's what I wanted. What? Oh, yeah, no, that makes sense. So what I'm thinking is instead of just adding the amount to increase to our current health, I think our current health should just become our max health. So this also becomes a full heal. So that way, if you go through this and you manage to like not get hit that much, you don't need this, and you can increase one of these stats. But if you're like really low on HP, even after picking up some HP upgrades, maybe, or some like healing upgrades, pick up things, you're going to be forced to pick this one, and as a result, like miss out on some like actually useful stuff. Is my thinking. I think that adds up. I think that makes sense. So yeah, let's, I guess, just take the location from this. Because this is relatively central, I think, right? So that height 200. And then like 1,000 units apart? 1,000 units apart seems pretty good. All lined up. After which, another room. And this room, I think what we're going to do is we're going to introduce a like couple of different types of like bullets. Also, this should definitely go back to increasing in steps of 100. Like a couple of different types of enemies, I should say, which have different types of bullets, so that is the same thing. So maybe we have like one that's fast, one that's slow, and one that's normal. So we still have 3 different ones, but they all have like different stuff going for them. Because in the end, we do need to like do a like super quick tutorialization of this entire game mode, right? Is this not connected? That's not connected. Well, that's not good. Let's connect that back up. Because this entire like section of the game is probably going to be like 10-15 minutes at most, because I want to have something else that is fun to like do for a bit but doesn't get like super tiring. Which means that I need to get through this as quickly as possible for like tutorialization purposes, I think. And since we come in from this direction, we might as well put these here. By the time we get here, these are going to be like randomly patrolling in weird ways anyway. And I do think it might be kind of fun to like put down, like definitely set the box size for these to be like only like 600 high or something, and then like 500 by 500 like big. But like maybe have a couple of pillars that you can hide behind to add in like a tiny bit of strategy. These are not symmetrical in any way. Holy hell. Yeah, this is kind of horrible. To like throw in a little bit of like a curveball to this. I think that this just being an open room is probably, I don't know, would it be more annoying to not have anywhere to hide for the player? Or would it be more annoying for the player to have things that they can like accidentally hit instead of? I think since the player is going to be able to like hide behind things and the AI won't be, I think it will be nice to add in some barriers in the first area here as well. Because the AI doesn't even like have a concept of what hiding is. So the player very likely won't actually run into like any problems where the AI will be like not able to be hit easily. So adding in a couple of barriers to like keep things a little bit more safe is probably a good thing. But it also might cause these guys to get stuck, because their movement is very rudimentary. As in, they effectively just move linearly, but they don't really move linearly. Their movement is actually kind of tank-like. They try to like move in a linear way, but they only have a certain amount of turn rate, so they like try to at any given point turn to the place that they're going, and they'll always move in the forward direction, meaning that if they like are facing this way and they need to go here, they do actually like curve around, which makes their movement feel a lot more natural. But they still don't have like very good pathfinding. Matter of fact, I don't even know if they need these nav meshes. I don't think they do. Now that I think about it, I don't think they use the nav mesh. Do they? Let's find out. yeah, we have this look at target, and then we have move. They don't even use the nav mesh. I mean, obviously, let's make sure that that is the case and test this out, but I'm fairly certain that they don't use the nav mesh, so this will be fine. I'm also going to save real quick, just in case. Yeah, now that I'm a little bit more used to the way that it looks in perspective mode, I think that I do like this better than orthographic mode, so that's good. Yeah, so their movement away from the player, at least, is entirely done without the nav mesh. It seems like they do not actually patrol without the nav mesh. They can hit each other, though, still. And I'm done. That should be a little bit more like feedback in there as well. So they do need the nav mesh. What do they need the nav mesh for? Because moving surely doesn't need the nav mesh. This is patrolling, right? Am I insane? Oh, the random reachable location. Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes total sense. In order to get the location that they need to move to, but they don't actually, so they only use the nav mesh to pick a location, not actually to move to that location, which is fucking insane. Look, if Unreal's navigation systems were a little bit more exposed and easily accessible, so that on every frame I could just get its like new desired position that it's trying to move toward, that would be ideal, because it would allow me to then use that to like drive my own movement code a little bit better, to combine the pathfinding with my own code. But it doesn't seem to like easily allow you to do that, so not ideal. Maybe in the future with like the mover plugin, they'll do a bit more with that. I don't know. I'm really looking forward to like that thing getting developed more, because it seems super cool. But I haven't really heard any like major updates from it since that one presentation from like 2 years ago, which is sad, because Mover seemed like a very, very cool thing. That I'm definitely not going to retrofit into this project anymore, because everything is like very much character based in this. But for a potential like future next project, might be like kind of nice to have. By the time I finish this, surely, oh, that's okay. Yeah, so maybe those upgrades that I got there are a little like too much, because wow. Damage multiplier 15, but it's not even a damage thing, is it? It's because this is rate of fire. So this is, yeah, multiplying rate of fire by 15. Let's multiply rate of fire by like 1.25 instead. And then the speed upgrade, let's increase by 25% as well. And then the max HP upgrade, that's fine to be 15. And then the damage upgrade, I guess, upgrade that by just like 10. That effectively doubles your damage output. So that might be a bit much. So yeah, at this point we have a rate of fire where it's actually like advantageous to manually press the fire button. no, because that adds like a little like mental overhead that you don't really want to like deal with. So I'm kind of thinking this twin-stick shooter setup that we have, maybe it works better if we limit it to like 8 directional. It's definitely something that I'm gonna like not do right now, but it is worth considering that having like 2 fine of a 360 control input kind of makes it difficult to aim. Whereas if you know that you're going to be snapping to the like closest of 8 directions, you only have to be close enough, and you like it's a little bit more predictable how and where you're going to shoot. So I think making it 8 directional is probably the way that we're going to end up going with this. But for the time being, I do want these to have like their own bullets. So let's just like we have fast bullets and we have heavy bullets, right? So like these heavy bullets should definitely be like only 1,000, bigger radius. Rate of fire should be like once every 4 seconds with more base damage. So heavy bullet for, let's say, this one. And that also then will probably have a little bit more health. I want to say, like, give this 150 health. And then we have the fast bullets, which do less damage. Rate of fire is... Oh, that's... Oh, hold on. No, heavy bullets. Rate of fire should be like 1.5. I got that mixed up. And then the fast bullets, 5 damage, 5 a second. That's fine. Give this one the fast bullets. And then after that, I guess we just let you choose between rate of fire or damage increase. So it would be 2 is... we make a split in the hallway. I'm just going to copy this block out thing over a couple of times. This will eventually be replaced with like actual meshes and stuff anyway, so it doesn't really like matter that much. Yes, I'll probably just like make like 2 small little rooms here that have the upgrades, and once you pick up one of them, the door to the other one closes, I guess. I think that's a decent way to do that, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. Again, very much making this up as I go, which is not the best way to like design literally anything, but here we are. This also does not need to be that long. I don't know why it is. Probably just because I copied it over from the last level. I don't know why, but blocking it out like this, it's starting to kind of feel like I could turn this into a mobile game, which, funnily enough, if I just throw like literally one microtransaction into it, it'll probably like make more money than this entire game would on Steam. But you know, I have this very annoying thing called self-respect, so I don't do that. So would be nice if I didn't have that sometimes. Let's make it just like 3K or like 3K maybe. Yeah. And that then loops back around. You know, maybe we should make that into a blueprint because we're going to be doing this a few times, I think. So maybe not, if not a blueprint, at least like a level instance that we can like copy over. We'll see. We might just make it into like different ways to do this every single time because, again, I hate myself. Is that centralized? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What the fuck? Is this not possible to do symmetrically? Or am I just insane? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. God damn it. Fixed. Now it's symmetrical. There we go. Can be just as easy as that. I'll probably turn this around. Now this also needs to exist over on that side, but this, luckily, we should be able to mostly just, or maybe aside from that one, copy over, move over, and then a couple of objects will need to, like, this one needs to go to the other side, for instance. But aside from that, it should be as easy as just plopping it in there, and that's kind of it. I'm actually thinking that these both just lead directly into the next room, and it's going to be like a somewhat bigger room. I think that would be fun. So if we just like connect this up like this. Maybe it doesn't need to be exactly square either. Just being a long room is fine. And maybe this is where we start making like specific enemies that don't even like really work on like state tree like going to say advanced AI. It's not advanced anything that I've made here, but like even simpler. Maybe there's just going to be like a couple of things that are just effectively turrets that just like fire on like a set rate or something. Like fire 3 times a second for 5 seconds and then turn off for 5 seconds and then just something like that. It will be fairly easy to like add in. Like all things considered. And be something a little bit more dynamic than only ever having like a bunch of those same drones over and over and over again. Just kind of thinking how I can make easy placeholders for the doors that I can then like retroactively swap out in a way that makes sense. Because I need to have like 2 doors that are linked to each of these pickups. Or an array of doors, probably. That need to like open themselves on begin play and then have a function to close them. So I guess it's just a blueprint and I'll worry about the actual logic later. TwinStick level door. Custom event open door, custom event close door, and for now we'll just make this a cube. An open door will set hidden in game to be true. And set collision enabled to being no collision, and then with the door being closed, it won't be hidden anymore, and it will have fucking just collision enabled. And on begin play, we open door. Needs to be a cube. And we can place a couple of these doors down. And eventually we can get rid of this and maybe like put in like an actual mesh that will open and close with like an animation or something. But for now this will do. And then we have the TwinStick like basic pickup, TwinStick power up. So on begin overlap, we just don't just destroy actor. What we also do is we have like level doors to close on pickup. Fucking mouthful. TwinStick level door. This probably would, in the end, be better off if we made an entire game to be a interface call. But this is one of those things where I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't actually like matter because we don't need to scale this up to be flexible in any way. We just need this to be, like, we don't need this to be programmed. We need this to just be scripted. We just need to say, hey, when this gets picked up, potentially like open or close like some level doors. And we're always going to be in a situation where level doors will be in play. So like having that hard reference, like actually straight up not a problem. Because it's not going to like take up places in memory that we don't care about. Or that we do care about. That's getting wasted or anything. So this is a good example of my video on why casting is okay. Which people still get mad about. But I should stay mad, I guess. Yeah, so I think in this case what we're going to do is we're going to do a like damage pickup on this side. And then a rate of fire pickup on this side. And I don't have the thing exposed. Now I do. So yeah, when I pick this one up, let's see, this door and this door close down. I mean, I might as well. No, I can't actually close this door down because if I die, I still need to be able to like come through here. So, again, I could make this entire thing reset. I could just make you go back into a different like streaming level and make this entire streaming level reload whenever I die in here as well. Just like cause this to be effectively a game over too. I don't want to do that because that makes it needlessly difficult. Both on me technically to like actually implement that, but also on the player, mostly on the players to be honest with you. It's not that difficult to implement, I don't think. Yeah, let's give this a shot. I think after we give this a shot, that's a pretty good point to like call it for today, because I do, like I said at the start of the stream, probably nobody was there yet, but I did go through a fair bit of like dental work this week. My control's not working. Oh no, it is. Is it? Might not be. So my jaw is still like hurting quite bad after 2 hours of talking. So I'm gonna like not overdo it if at all possible. Oh my god, okay, so that is actually like stupid fast, but it also dies in one hit, so there's a bit of like both. He also dies in one hit, so I actually just deal altogether too much damage, what the fuck? Oh, does this multiply damage? Oh, this might multiply damage, hold on. Yeah, that's a damage multiplier, so let's not 10x our damage. Let's make that 0.5, 50% extra damage. And while we're at it, that's not what I want to do at all. And while we're at it, we also need to enable this wall from. I guess we can just use doors for these as well now. Now I think about it. Oh well. Oh, fuck. I copied over the components and not the actual actors. And I did it again. Select a different actor, select this actor, copy it over, move. There we go, that's how you do it. Well, these are all fairly easy to like, set up, right? Because we just do like one here. Copy one more over. Remove that. Yes, we're going to be replacing that in a moment. And we'll just need to add a bool to the blueprint for this on whether or not they start as open or closed. But that's super easy. So this will be start open. Default value of which will be true, I'm going to say. So if we start open, we open door, and otherwise we start with not a comment, what the hell, close door. And that's kind of everything there is to that. So this does not start as open, this one does not start as open. Where is the level blueprint? Is it there? Somewhere in here, surely. There we go. Instead of this, which is now gone, we just open door. Fantastic. And we just kind of do the same thing for this situation over here. So create reference to 4 actors. Copy over, paste there. Once this is complete, do the next for each loop and just loop over these 3 enemies. And give them their own variable as well, actually. It's probably not a bad idea. And their own door. So this will be gate 2. Yeah, I think that's everything we need to do. There's definitely going to be a little bit of balancing that's needed because it's still a little difficult to like get everything. Like I think the enemies are just kind of too powerful from the get-go. So like the basic enemy like rate of fire needs to like significantly go down, for instance. And I do think that the 8 directional bullet inputs are probably a good idea too. Because it's kind of insane otherwise. And like for instance, like this guy, right? It's a bit insane. Like the only way to actually hit him is to hit him in the back. I think in general these things also just need more HP. But this seems to work fairly well now, so I can say I want to upgrade my damage. And then if I go back, now the door for the other side should be closed. It is. Fantastic. It doesn't even let you look in anymore. Which was entirely by accident. Yeah, but this one's still open because I didn't actually link everything up properly. Okay. So I do have both of them now. And this probably didn't look up anything on this side now, did it? Yeah, it did. Okay. So just gotta link up the proper level door. So TwinStick level door, TwinStick level door 4. And these 2 are this one and that one. So I think we're going to leave it there for today. Again, it's a bit of a shorter stream than usual, but I'm still kind of recovering. So next time, I think we're going to pick up where we left off here. So as you can see, this is effectively going to be the largest level in the game so far. Because it's an entire sub-game within this game. It's probably going to be like 2 or 3 times the size of what we have now. I'm thinking is we make one more room here. We fill this room, I mean, and then we kind of just like do 2 more of these reward like setups. At some point, maybe somewhere we like put in like a secret passage or something. I'm not entirely sure yet how we would do that, but if I have like a creative idea, we'll implement that. And then we'll make a boss, and that boss fight will be instead of just firing different like types of normal bullets, which it will still use the normal bullets, probably, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. It might have its own like bullet pool specifically to it, with slightly like more to it, because what I'm thinking is I want that to be slightly more bullet hell-ish, but that might just mean that he's stationary and he like sprays out like bullets and patterns that you have to dodge or something like that. I don't think that those bullets necessarily are going to like have weird movement or anything, so we'll probably be able to just use the normal bullet pool when I think about it. But yeah, that's it for now. So I'll be back on Tuesday again. This time without taking like another week break, because my dentist really wanted to like schedule an appointment last Tuesday. So by this time last Tuesday, my mouth was all messed up. Still kind of messed up now. It's been a couple of days. But good enough that I could stream and do a little bit of work. And after we finish this, hopefully I'll have the animations for this guy done, and we can jump into programming him. I do have a list of animations that I want to do. So I have like his idle movements more or less done. We need to blend those in Unreal, but like this is more or less like going to be the vibe for the idle movements. The actual like speeds of which I'll need to fine tune. This is very rough what I just did before stream. None of it loops through each other and blends properly, and sometimes it clips through each other. It's probably just going to be kind of a fact of life on these, but it's fine. Then we need like locomotion animations, turning animations. I need to make a stock thing for the drills to just always be like moving around. And then we have like a bunch of like combat animations, and it's probably going to need more than it has right now on this list. So maybe we'll do a little bit of animating as well before we start programming, depending on how quickly I can get through this. I'm not entirely sure, but there's plenty of stuff for us to do, is what I'm getting at. So, and after we have this guy in place, I'm going to go back over the red dungeon. Now that's been a month or 2 since I actually properly looked at that, revise anything that I feel like desperately needs to be revised before I give it to people to play through. And add in like 1 or 2 more like enemy types as well. More basic than this, because this is obviously a boss fight. And then while that like next round of testing on that specific dungeon is going through, I'll probably start on, I don't know actually. I might do the Unreal shooter before I send it off to testing as well, because that is part of this dungeon. So maybe what we do is we also create the Unreal shooter segment, then send it off to testing, and while we send it off to testing, I might start doing some of the art for the purple dungeon, because the purple dungeon at this point I do feel is like, I've had people test it, not that many people, but I've had like people run through it to test. I feel like this is pretty close to final in its layout. So we can start probably like looking into setting up like more art for this to like actually make it a proper vertical slice of the game. At least like working towards that. We also still need to fix up giving this guy a couple more abilities and just touching up this boss fight in general. But also, I think I should get started on... I feel like there's just entire files missing. Like, isn't there supposed to be a texture on these guys as well? What the fuck? I feel like I might have like accidentally deleted some files while moving over to pair4s, and that's not good. Well, I'll figure it out. But yeah, I think we should probably like get started on doing some art here, because otherwise we're going to end up in a situation where in like a year and a half, most of the dungeon layouts are going to be done, and then I have to spend like an entire year only doing art, which is not good for my mental health. Or for my like, inspiration for like YouTube videos, because then the channel is going to turn into like a Blender channel suddenly, because that's what I'll be doing most of the time, and I don't want to be doing that. So I do want to like manage and stagger the workload on these things in such a way that I'm not like doing the entire coding for the entire game and then doing the entire level design for the entire game, and then also because it's difficult to like incrementally like improve my like skills in general in like level design and animation and that kind of stuff if I do them all in like those big batches. So I think like staggering it as in, okay, we're now moving into the next phase of like production for this dungeon while the next dungeon like gets started. Meaning that this purple dungeon is going to be like probably entirely like finished, game ready by the time we even start with like the 4th or 5th dungeon, hopefully. But that means that we're going to need to do a lot of art stuff for this, which I don't know if I'm going to do all of that on stream, because that would just be streams of me being dumb. I'm refusing to look things up because I'm live, making things a lot more painful. Anyway, so yeah, that's the next stream, next month, next year of my life. I don't know why I'm explaining all that. I will save everything.